Hi,
Hi, ma'am.
good
Hello.
afternoon. Can you
Uh,
hear us?
yes, yes. Now we can.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, all.
Very good.
Good
How are you?
afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so I'm Indira Kakodkar. I am the co-head of WEvolve.
Okay.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Shambhavi Kulkarni. I'm the co-head of WEvolve.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Tasneem. I'm the social media head of WeWorld.
Hello, Tasmi.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Amrita. I am a copywriter at WeWorld.
Hello. Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You too.
We're really honored to have you here for this interview today. So, if everything's all right on your side, can we start?
Sure. Let's start.
So, uh, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's interview with Ma'am Sarah Kurian. I would like to give a quick background of our guest today. She is a dedicated and passionate clinical psychologist and counselor who completed her MPhil at the Gujarat Forensic Sciences University. She has also been a teacher at Dr. Pillai Global Academy and the Tapovan International School for 4 years. As an individual dedicated to working towards the betterment of society, she lays emphasis on the importance of quality education to budding students. In today's interview, we will be exploring the nuances of the client therapist relationships guided by Ms. Sarah. So, ma'am, thank you for joining us today.
I'm audible?
So, yes, ma'am.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to begin the interview by asking you a general question. So, how has your counseling experience been so far? Is it different from what you were taught or from what you were expecting?
I would say theory just is the tip of the iceberg. Like, you are all psychology students?
Yes.
Yeah, so okay, I can relate better. Since the start of my journey, I was told I'm good listener. Most of us who enter psychology either are a good listener, quiet, allow others to speak, empathetic. Similar skills were talked about, and I thought, okay, here's my journey, and it starts. So I thought, okay, I'm learning in theory, reflective listening, paraphrasing, empathy, put yourself in others' shoes, everything done and dusted. But when I stepped into real life, I realized that when you're in the moment, anything can happen with the client. No matter how good of a listener you are, how empathetic you show yourself, he has his baggage, he or she. So that way, theory just touched a part of it. I've slipped a lot, but practical helped me more because I realized there are moments when you need to keep quiet, but then there will be moments you need to say something. The person is desperately waiting for you to say something, which is not a repetition of what the person has already said. Like paraphrasing, we are rephrasing what they said. No, that's not what they want to hear. I learned that through my experiences, and yeah, to suffice to say, first years of counseling, first few years, there's a trial and error. We fall a lot. After 5 to 6 years, okay, I'm at a beginner level. Yes, 10 to 15 years somewhere, but best to be humble because humanity is complicated. Because I've heard many people say, we don't feel comfortable talking to a senior counselor. What happens when you are so old? There develops this know how, I know it all attitude. Clients don't like that because they may be a teenager going through some sort of depression and they would hear, so what? Do you know how much I've gone through? And it just bounces off the wrong way. So, yes, experienced it's best to be humble, learn whatever they have to say. You never know what life throws you. So, that's that.
I think being humble is something we can have in common in all of the career choices we go ahead with.
True that.
So, one thing that we are taught a lot, or it's emphasized when they teach us counseling, is that bias is very important and that we should not let it affect our behavior and opinions. So, could you tell us how you have been able to handle that, or how can we can stop our personal bias from affecting us in a session?
I can add on to that last point I made. I know it all. Okay, her client is defensive. This is the reason. He may have troubled relationships. If the client is unable to speak, okay, the person has trauma. But then the actual reason comes way different. It's very crucial, but at the same time, it's jarring because your mind is racing all the time, trying to analyze and interpret. The person in front of you is trusting his entire life and waiting to hear something good from you. Biases will happen. Best take it slow in the very first session. Be a keen observer and be open to anything. You don't need to just classify even the body language. Oh, shifty eyes is so and so. Taking a deep breath in so and so. No. Just take a step back and observe them. And then we have something of reviewing cases. Reviewing helps. Maybe you need not have the time to do it on the very same night. Usually we see clients once a week, so you have sufficient time. Review them. And when you review, you will realize, okay, have my biases entered here? Why? The question why helps. Biases can go two ways. Maybe even the client said something that was out of place, or you said something. Then, when you ask the question why, you realize and you're able to do better the next few sessions. So, taking it slow and reviewing helps.
All right. Okay, and keeping in the same line of bias, another thing that we were taught initially was the concept of transference and countertransference. So one thing we were told, like we first heard in Freud's sessions, that transference and countertransference took place. But nowadays we hear a lot of different opinions about it, some positive and some negative. So what is your take on transference and countertransference?
The very important reason why this topic is so close to me is because of these two terms. Um, I can allude to the first question. My experience with learning psychology was not very smooth sailing. Usually, transference and countertransference is normal. It will happen because we are all emotional beings. Somewhere down the line, I learned it the hard way that countertransference will happen no matter what. Because in those days of my teaching, when I was learning, countertransference is bad. That means you're weak, you're vulnerable. I don't think you're meant for psychology. Did you check yourself? Did you have therapy? Do you have unresolved issues? One, two, three, four, five. We are done. Okay. If you are unmarried and you talk to opposite gender, be careful. Countertransference. You had a loved one passed away, you are talking to someone who is undergoing grief, countertransference. Everything boils down to emotions. So, my answer would be we are two human beings. We are coming together in sort of a sanctuary. We are creating this space where we are trying help the client. The client is vulnerable. Deepest, darkest secrets are spilled out. You are giving your utmost energy to listen. There's this heavy energy of emotions flowing from both directions. So, what can be done? Is it good or bad? Good if it helps you to realize what are your strengths and weakness. Let me take first the client's perspective. Same example, grief. The person is shouting, screaming at you, resisting you. Yes, the emotions are coming out, they were bottled up. You are now aware, okay, these are the emotions that the person is going through, so and so. We can build up on it. Counter transference, I start to get emotional. I relate my examples, and the person is able to get some sort of solace. Good. Negative, I feel, yes, if we cross the boundaries, because every person is different. They are not prepared to handle your baggage or try to analyze what are you going through, why you're saying so and so. Like countertransference also happens when the therapists lose their patience. Most of the time, if you are having a serious illness, any therapy doesn't get over in a month. At least 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 to 3 years. So off chance I heard a session where after 6 to 7 sessions, the client was going through depression. The therapist is saying, do you know what kind of struggles I went through? I am a doctor, but I'm still here, sitting before you, and I'm strong. I think every human being goes through that and we need to come out of it. Seems very innocuous, but it just completely bounced off the wrong way because 100% the said therapist was going through a bad day. She herself had to go pick up the groceries, no one was listening to her, and completely bad day. Client didn't know that. And it felt like, okay, you're comparing yourself to me. You're telling me to snap out of it, this and that. High probability the next session either he or she will not come or divulge less. So if both these emotions are spilling out, best aware to be aware and accept it, set a boundary, realize where it's taking you, and then act accordingly. No need to deny it, it's normal. It will happen no matter how experienced. The said therapist is 50-year-old. So there is no way you can say, okay, you are a young therapist, that's why it's happened. No, it can happen at any time. So awareness, acceptance, and resolution.
Right. So, as you said that human beings are naturally very emotional, and there's a lot of emotional spillage from both sides in that session. So, in line with that, I'd like to ask that in the Bollywood movie Dear Zindagi, Alia Bhatt's character develops feelings for Shah Rukh Khan's character, who is the therapist. So, how often do such situations arise, and what's the correct way of going about it? And also, how do you strike a balance between being empathetic and being professional?
This movie came up a lot when I am teaching. I usually I deal with grades 8 to 12. That's the teenage years, a lot of hormonal fluctuations and emotional upheavals happen. I said, just like Tare Zameen Par, maybe you're not lucky to get a teacher like Amir Khan. So let's not get derailed and think that, okay, dyslexic people are so and so. Similarly, Dear Zindagi, and there is another movie in Hollywood. I don't know if you have watched it, Good Will Hunting. It's an old movie. Again, it's like a deep relationship between a student and a therapist, and emotions spill out. Coming back to Dear Zindagi, does it happen in my practice? Very much so. There are different kinds of emotions. So, firstly, like I said in the previous answer, denial or suppressing leads to more problems. When you are kind of a mentor or a counselor, you're already prepared for the fact that they have zero mentors, zero people to look forward to. Now, suddenly you are entering as a positive influence. How can there be a detachment? There can't be. They have absolutely no one in their life to lean on to. You have come in their life, obviously they are going to lean on it. Suddenly now you say, oh, don't fall in love with me, stop it. That's going to cause more harm. Without encouraging their advances, it's difficult. See, as I said, no matter 5 years, 6 years, or 10 years, you're still learning counseling. So what I did was this, I can give example when I talk to male students who maybe are single children. I cannot give you like a straightforward example because of confidentiality, but disturbed family environment, separated parents. And obviously, me entering his life became a factor where he started growing close to me. And that was a point where I wasn't married also and I was doing counseling. I slowly realized that, okay, he's growing attached to me. He's asking questions about my personal life, which sometimes I couldn't answer. I realized the pattern. Okay, he needs someone to talk to. There is this pervasive loneliness. He's desperately in need of a relationship. That time I cannot say, go get a girlfriend, go have hobbies, wait till your marriage, you will find someone beloved. Or if you don't want to marry, go adopt a pet. We are always in a rush to get to a solution. Trust the journey, because what can guarantee that the same thing will not happen when he enters a relationship? In a relationship, one person loves the other more. Someone loves the other more. Sometimes there's miscommunications, there's betrayal, all these things. Now, he is learning when he is in kind of a relationship with you. So, in the journey, explore them. Explore these emotions. Keep a boundary. Okay, you feel like you want to meet me for lunch and dinner. I'm so sorry. I have these things to do. We have arranged a session next time. Can we talk about it? Okay. But I'm looking forward to things we had allotted as a assignment and homework. Can we talk about it? So here I set a boundary, but I'm not completely saying no to him. It's very subtle you have to be. Person looks forward to, okay, you're showing genuine interest, genuine what you say, curiosity, what he's up to, what he's in life. So now what I did, I kept the relation, I developed his individuality. We talk about things under the sun, slowly, steadily. After a point of time, he's ready to accept it. And then he looked back with a laugh. Oh, ma'am, do you remember this phase? We were kind of awkward and you also were awkward. I say, yeah, but I think it led us somewhere that I think no relationship would be perfect. Don't you agree? I said, yeah, maybe I will betray someone or the other person will betray me. We will have fights, but I think I'll accept that that is what it's to be human. So, to come to a conclusion, take those emotions, navigate with it rather than denying and just putting it to a stop.
All right.
Hope I'm not boring.
No, definitely not.
No, definitely not.
This is a very interesting take on it, definitely. Another stereotype I think we see in therapy is that it's just one client and one therapist. But now that we're studying more, we know that that's not always the case. So, would you say there's a difference in the relationship formed when there is an individual client as opposed to when there are two or more clients in a session?
There is. I think I would like to slightly rephrase it so that people would get an idea. Use strategically according to the purpose. If you're dealing with deep trauma, it's a very vulnerable, sensitive topic. You wouldn't do good in a group. Best to have individual therapy. But you're going through some massive journey. You have lost your entire family with COVID. You're battling an eating disorder. You are just have been a victim of a domestic abuse. Those times, if I have a one-on-one session, most of the times what happens, the person sees me as normal. You haven't gone through this. What can you help me with? Although we have time and again been told we don't need to go through everything to be a counselor, but still it's hard to convince the other person. When we are in such situation in a group with like-minded people, that gives them a bond. Okay, let me take an example of eating disorder. Constant puking, constant throwing out food. It's not necessary a person who doesn't know eating disorders, oh, you're trying to be a K-pop idol or what? You're trying to be a Bollywood actress or what? Without realizing, not necessarily it's always about appearance. It's hiding some significant repression of some relationship abuse that happened. So that particular person looks at another person and the person is talking, hey, I had combated with eating disorder for 10 years. I've come out of it, but these were the struggles. The person who is in his very first year realizes, okay, so me who has been through it for 4 5 years, I'm okay. To all those people who are telling me, snap out of it, come out of it, take a medicine, just stop throwing out. It's okay. There are so many people around me. That gives an added push for therapy to be successful. So I would say go by the strategic problem. What needs companionship? Group therapy will work best. What needs one on one? Like children. It's difficult to have group therapy with children. So individual work, you need to do art therapy, play therapy. So with the audience, you can change your strategy.
Oh, wow, this is very interesting. And like you said that it's sometimes difficult to form like a relationship with a client, right? So if a new client is showing resistance or reluctance to therapy, how do you approach this without pressuring the client and potentially risking the relationship before it is even formed?
Chances, let's be imaginative for a second here. Chances are you are the fourth therapist the client is seeing. Because as I said, India is lacking therapists, licensed therapists. There are plentiful counselors. Nowadays, there are Ayurvedic doctors who are counselor, BAMS. There are diploma students who are counselors. Okay, they just put a placard and who is there to find out do they have a license or not. And as I alluded in my past example, okay, one session, these are your problems, they are minimal, come out of it. Oh, you're feeling depressed, just get up and have a walk. Did you try yoga? Most common solutions I've heard is go do exercise, go do yoga. Doesn't work immediately for schizophrenics or bipolar. May work for obesity, right? Doesn't work for all. So chances are you are the fourth therapist the client is seeing. They will be resistant to you. Again, first session is crucial. If you are not defensive, that's why before anyone comes, like I said, reviewing after a case, before someone comes, ground yourself. I'm not an almighty savior. Whatever issues, maybe my spouse or my kid just called me and was just throwing all his crankiness. Let me just ground myself. Cannot throw it. Okay. Whosoever is coming, clean slate. I cannot say I know it all, everything. After that, when the person comes and he shows the typical symptoms of resistance, observe. Resistance means something. It's a cry for attention, kind of. Are you going to say the same stupid things the previous people said to me? I'm testing you. Or do you have something different? When you observe those signs, build up and you can ask, okay, tell me more about it. Usually, when there is this comfortable silence, clients speak a lot. They do. It's all your body language and the proper kind of silence, not like this defensive. Okay, okay, shout the entire session. That they are also smart enough to see you're being defensive. But this comfortable silence, they'll start talking. Somehow you'll connect the dots. Okay, this is why this resistance was coming in. Okay, you're mentally jotting it down, and you can end the session by this reassurance. Can we talk more about this? Leaving it open. You acknowledge the person's resistance. You gave an opportunity. Let's talk more. zero judgment, yes, I would say there's a 70% chance he would come back. Now, coming to the 30%, that's where again humility. I cannot solve every case. Very, very resistant people come, or maybe you yourself are having a heavy day, or maybe the topic is something you are going through and you feel you're very vulnerable right now. It's no harm to be polite and say, can I get back to you? And search for reference. So I think observe, openness, and the acceptance to let go. That can help you when you are having resistant people.
So, from everything you've described so far, it sounds like the relationship between a client and a therapist is very intimate and very deep. So, how do you determine if and when to share personal information with the client? So, in your experience, how does self-disclosure typically influence the client-therapist relationship?
I have a very good, interesting perspective because I am a teacher also and I am a counselor. I have learned it and made it a golden rule. To whomsoever I'm teaching, I don't counsel. There's this role mixing because when you're a teacher, you're bound to be strict. You're bound to have that boundary. And when you're a counselor, the boundaries are different. You're much more lenient, much more open. Cannot work. So, similar is something with self disclosure. It's very exciting to do that to speed up the process or maybe gain trust. For example, grief, very often used topic to relate to because in most of the people who are going through traumatic things, they have lost someone. Oh, yeah, my grandmother had dementia. I was caregiving. I can relate the caregiver burden. Somehow you're trying to relate and create that trust. Now, this is a double edged sword, very much. Self disclosure, according to me, use sparingly, very, very with reserve. You are not their role model. You are not building this relationship that the person looks up to. Like you're not a gym trainer. Oh, see, my grandmother passed away. I came out of it. When are you coming out of it? No. If there are cases where you're needing them to motivate themselves, like career choices, they are struggling a lot. They don't know what to do. They are facing a lot of obstacles. And you build up an example. I had these and I persevered. Yes, it helps. Especially adolescents and children, it helps. But sensitive topics, grown ups, this relatability creates this factor. Oh, I think now you have created a pressure in me. I need to live up to your expectations. So, best to leave self disclosure at a distance, I would feel.
All right. And another thing you mentioned was maybe at times you're not the first person the client has come to you, maybe the fourth therapist. They may just not be able to move ahead in their journey. So, if a client feels discouraged about their progress, so what steps would you take to reinforce like a sense of trust and encouragement in therapy? Because sometimes people might be like, therapy is just not for me. So, what do you do in that situation?
Celebrate every milestones they are achieving. They are always going to self deny themselves. No matter they have taken every medicine, they are going to a job, they are talking to people, taking example of depression. They are going to job, they are tackling every challenges, they are taking medicine, and yet every single time this thing will happen. I don't think I'm making any progress. So when you're faced with this persistent self-denial, you need to be first acceptant of it. Okay, this is bound to happen. This is a defense survival mechanism. The more negative you are, the better. Like Indian system, Tarif, don't give too much of praise. Head in the clouds. Always keep them down to earth, saying 99, 100, why not 101? Room for improvement. So this survival mechanism will always make them say negative. Keep them motivated for the small milestones. Also, this pattern will tell you something. Oh, always the self bashing I'm seeing. The person may have probably picked it up with their parents, from their environment, from their workplace. Somewhere this has picked up. Because who doesn't like praise? Who doesn't like ambition? Somewhere it was stamped upon. Once we catch hold of that pattern, we work on it. And then give them goals, small goals. Okay, you think you're not achieving. Do you remember this goal we had achieved that you'd wake up on time? Yeah, I am waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Great. How do you feel about it? You help himself, the client, to acknowledge. Yeah, I think I used to wake up at 10 in the morning and nothing could be done. Now I'm waking up at 5. Yeah, I guess I'm doing a lot. So now you're enabling the person himself to acknowledge, oh, I am progressing a lot. Rather than saying, stand in front of the mirror. This is another phrase I've seen a lot. Stand in front of the mirror, praise yourself. I am good, I'm beautiful, I'm acceptable. They say when I look myself in the mirror, I detest myself. I'd rather break the mirror into a million pieces. I hate myself. What do? You need to, that's why, be humble and learn different strategies. And despite that, accept he will be in self-denial, be persistent. If slowly, steadily, we come to a point that you understood the pattern is broken and he is acknowledging now, then he will continue therapy to get better. Is it okay if I join in from one more account? My laptop is showing that it's about to shut down. Is it okay?
Yes, no problem.
Just 1 minute. Am I audible now? I think it's on mute. Yes.
Will you be able to flip the screen?
Yes. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
I think we do tend to sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. I think we do tend to
You go ahead,
sometimes forget the smaller things when we come to therapy. We're like, hey, this is my main problem. Why isn't this being solved? I think that's great advice.
Yeah. And I mean, from everything you've described, it is kind of obvious that the client would form an emotional attachment to the therapist. So, how do you handle the process of ending therapy? Like, how do you navigate potential feelings of loss or grief that the client may feel upon ending that therapy?
There's this technical term, termination of the therapeutic relationship. Termination. Anyone will fear that they are suddenly getting abandoned. As I said, they had no one in their life to look up to. You came as a positive influence. You've been in this relationship for 1 year, 2 years. Now you're saying we don't need to meet each other. There will come this feeling of suddenly being lonely. Give them the assurance, I'm not cutting you off from my life. But at the same time, now you're independent enough to live life. So before I do that, is the client ready to live life. That's what's important for me to check mark. For example, what's the purpose of living life? Say, purpose now comes, ma'am, there is a marathon that's about to happen in 2 weeks. I'm participating. He's willingly participating in a marathon. From a point I detest myself, ma'am, one of my colleagues suggested we meet in a cafe. I am going to meet them in 2 days. There's this progress you're seeing. There's this willpower you're seeing to live life. That's important. If and only if that willpower is there, then and only then I can say therapy has worked well. He is courageous to enter any relation, courageous to face any challenges. Once I'm assured of that, I can guide him that, okay, I'm proud of you. You've achieved all the milestones, because when we start a therapy, we discuss what are the goals. Dear client, you have achieved all of them. I think you are now fully ready to step into life. Don't worry. It's not that I'm just saying goodbye to you, but I think with every end, there is a new beginning. So go out there. So that way, slowly, steadily, you can bring the relationship to a fruitful close. So first thing, as I said, check mark. Is he self independent, or is he still showing reliant behavior? He's dependent on others. If so, maybe you need to work on that. Otherwise, what would happen when you terminate a therapy? He will face a lot of negative emotions.
Right. I mean, the entire journey, like from the beginning to the end, it sounds like it is very beautiful and very meaningful for both the client and the therapist. So, before we conclude this interview, as part of our initiative to incorporate a non-psychology perspective in the magazine as well, we have a couple of questions that were sent in by a student who is not a psychology major. She's a sociology major, but she is very interested in knowing more about this field. So yeah, we'll be asking those questions as well.
Great, great. I'll be happy to listen to them.
So these are more like a personal from only your point of view. So the first would be, how do you handle your own personal problems when facing such a great deal of stress at work? Does it not get overwhelming?
It's good if I'll be honest for the sociology student, because as I am a psychology teacher, someone comes to me, ma'am, I think I want to become a psychologist. I say 9 years, 10 years of psychology you study and then come back to me. I say with a laugh. But jokes apart, in my field, I don't know about others. I don't share the cases I talk about, even with changing names, to my spouse or my family. Like, suppose I met a child who's going through depression. I come home and reverse the gender. Oh, there was a girl, grade 8, went through depression. No. I think what happens here is neither your family nor your spouse knows the extent of actual disorder, the pain. They might say something on the offhand remark which will irritate you even more. And rather than your stress getting down, you are more overwhelmed now. Diversify your interest, my interest. Not one. Like, I listen to soothing music when I come back. I go for a walk. I go join meetings like a reading club. When I diversify, my energy or my stress is distributed. If you rely on one thing, oh, let me write it in a diary, even that myth I wanted to actually talk about, because you will hear this a lot, like the mirror one. Write your thoughts in a diary. This generation detests writing because we are the smartphone generation. Tear the piece of paper, throw it in the fire. As the fire burns, feel your problems melting away. No, they want to write in a smartphone. Ma'am, I don't think we can throw the smartphone in the fire, right? So I relate to that. Even for me, just writing cannot let go of my stress. So I diversify. I distribute my energy. No need for anyone to know the complete me. No one can. Even I myself am discovering who I am actually. Psychology, even if you learn for 50 years, you'll never know who you are. It's a mystery. Let it be so. So rather than finding the why, the how, why I'm stressed, what should I do? Again, as I said, don't be solution oriented. Oh, this person shouted at me. I am upset. I need to come out of it. No. The person was irritated. I saw 10 people today. I'm overwhelmed. Okay, I come home. I don't feel like cooking. I don't feel like writing. I don't think talking will help me. With diversified interests, okay, let me do this. Just getting up and just opening the windows, which seems overwhelming, I want to take it up as a challenge. I get up, I open the windows. Oh, okay, I'm distracted, I'm coming out of it. What next can I do? What next? What next? And suddenly that feelings of irritability came down. So keep the options open. You will be vulnerable, you will be stressed because you're a human being. When you're more open, your stress levels will, I would say, you will be much more confident to say nothing will shake me. Something or the other I can do, or a good night's sleep. Okay, I can't sleep. Many times say, oh, therapists, go and have a sleep. Let me tell you, statistically, therapists sleep very less. I think as psychology students, insomnia does happen during exams, right? We think a lot. We are the master overthinkers. So even sleep doesn't help. That time, listening to music makes you overthink even more. That time, completing all the pending chores helped me, which I've just left it out there because the silence of the night gives you that courage. Everything is pending, physical labor. Okay, let me not do art therapy or whatever. Let me just do simple physical labor. And then when you're tired, okay, I'm no longer irritable. That helps.
And the second question is that given your extensive knowledge of coping mechanisms and your experience as a therapist, do you find it easier to navigate personal challenges, or do you sometimes react in a way that is similar to someone who doesn't have a background in psychology?
I'll be honest. I cannot be a psychologist to myself. I will react badly. After all, even in me, there will be a 10-year-old girl hurt somewhere for something. So even psychologists are recommended to go to therapy. But let's be honest, when we who have studied psychology go to another therapist, there is bound to be a clash of opinion. I don't agree with you. Oh, you're using CBT on me. Oh, you're using distraction on me. All sorts of clash happens. And it doesn't work out. Again comes that 10-year-old girl, cranky, irritable, needs attention, needs some sort of self soothing. So, my honest answer would be no matter how much of an expert of this subject is, be prepared to be human. Let's not hide behind this defense because everyone on earth is reminding you. You're a psychologist, no? Nothing should bother you. Oh, you're a psychologist, snap out of the most infuriating statement you'll hear. My answer would be so then that means doctors will never catch a cold. Doctors are supposed to be immortal. No, right? So, similarly, psychologists are human. I'll have meltdowns. So, better I embrace it. let me have those down days. It's better to be accepting and human about it.
Those are all the questions that we have from our side. Is there something that you would like to add, or is there a topic you feel that we haven't touched on that you would like to tell the students?
Are all here psychology students?
Yes.
Which year?
All of us are in third year, other than Amrita. She's a second year.
So, like, just my curiosity, are you all going into which subfield?
I am currently thinking of doing a MSc in
MSc.
clinical.
Clinical. Same for others?
No,
Yeah, probably.
I'm planning to get into industrial and organizational.
Amrita is contemplating.
Yeah, we haven't been exposed to a lot of different fields. Like, I'm still in second year, but neurodevelopmental or child psychology is at the forefront of my interest right now.
Why I picked up this topic is I'm happy. Some of the good, Ferguson is one of the good colleges. Teachers are good and are exposed to a lot. As I said in one of the questions, I wasn't exposed to that. My vulnerability can be exposed to others, which is countertransference. So that's the reason I wanted to talk about it. And no matter how much I talk, it will never suffice. So I would just like to share that even after 10 years of psychology, you'll suddenly feel like just putting it all aside and becoming a chai wala. Giving a very drastic example, not because of our prime minister, but because making tea doesn't require your mind to be taxed. It's just a routine. Stir the tea, put in sugar, done. When you are a psychologist, you are thinking in 100 directions. You have to be strong while battling through something and still help others, and that too for years together. Don't shy away, because I personally have talked to students. Are they meant for clinical? Are they meant for counseling? First, because both have severity of the disorders they are tackling. Clinical is much more severe. Yes, clinical helps you to learn everything. After clinical learning, you can still settle on a specialization, like how I'm doing. Somewhere I realized I want to talk a lot. थेरेपी में आप इतना बकबक नहीं कर सकते, आपको सुनना ज़्यादा पड़ता है. So I decided, let me be a teacher. And somewhere, some of my good role models were teachers. All of my colleagues are psychologists. They would say, you are the black sheep. I said, are we here to prove some sort of a medal? I mean, am I a failure? No. And at any point of time, I decide, I think I'm done and dusted with psychology. If engineers can become MBA graduates and then start their own business, why not us? Self-care, no one talks about. It's just a milestone of, have you achieved the target of anyone coming to you and saying, thank you, आपने मेरा जिंदगी ठीक किया. ठीक है, ये thank you के चक्कर में we'll never thank ourselves. Without that, we'll be drained out the maximum, because even if you get the most loving spouse, your life will not be like a K-drama that the minute a tear falls down, someone has swooped in to wipe away. No, right? So I tell them, are you prepared for clinical or counseling? Question 2, what's the demand in India and abroad? Go for it. Research about it. Because ultimately, yes, there needs to be a market, there needs to be a demand. And yes, psychology is very much in demand. But tap according to aptitude. Like someone told me, ma'am, forensic psychology. I said, this is not CID. What are the skills a forensic person needs? First of all, cutthroat. I mean, your mind has to be very sharp, deductive. You cannot be like that empathetic. No, you're dealing with crime here. There is not that much of empathy here than there is you being sharp and a good judgment person. "Ma'am, there's a lot of violence and bloodshed and talking." I said, "Yeah, can I try counseling then?" He said, "Yes, but again, skills. Explore your skills, explore the market, and at the end of the day, do your self care, because I will not say 100%, 99% of us enter psychology either because we are broken somewhere, we are searching for answers, someone has told us we are good at helping. Helping gives us that sense of accomplishment. Me, after all these years, I can say only and only psychology can help me in me coming out of whatever problem I'm stuck in. Once I discovered that, I can say, okay, because psychology will make you think a lot. And as I said, have sleepless nights, have issues of your own. And yes, don't hesitate to go to therapy. Let it be 4 or 5 therapists you see. Even that will teach you something. Oh, I'm clashing a lot. I'm resisting a lot. What is happening? Okay, I have rejection issues. I'm opposing a lot. Okay, I don't like opinions being thrown at me. Maybe that therapy will also help you. So I think that's why I wanted to talk about this topic a lot. Feelings. I use the word accept a lot. Accept करना मुश्किल है, but don't worry. Maybe you will also fall in love with a client. We talked about where Alia is falling in love with SRK. Can't it happen SRK falls in love with Alia, like that kind of scenario? Yeah, we'll acknowledge it at that time. Whether you marry the person or not, I don't know. Not recommended, I would say, but that will also teach you something. Okay, I was craving for so and so thing. That's why this is happening. You'll take it like a fun experience. 10 years later, oh, I had a crush on my client. Ha, nice experience I had. So that's that. I hope I was engaging.
Yes, ma'am,
Please
absolutely.
do share honest, keeping the magazine agenda aside. How was the experience?
It was truly amazing. Like you were very friendly, very open with us. It felt like we were talking to someone who is genuinely interested in like sharing her experiences and in kind of giving us a glimpse into how the entire journey goes. So yeah, it was truly amazing.
Tasneem and Amrita were the silent observers. How was it for you?
It was really good for me. It was very, very interesting because this is something I don't want to do. When I started studying psychology, I was hell bent on not doing counseling. I was like, that's one area I won't be able to get into. And everything you mentioned is something I've always thought about. How do you keep aside your personal life, or how do you not take it back home? So I think it was very, very insightful for me. It was really, really fun to listen to.
For me, I felt like I learned a lot of things and it was relatable. What you mentioned about people saying, ki, oh, you'll be a good therapist because you're a good listener. That is something I've been told since I was in 8th grade. And so, a lot of perspective that you gave, even the movies or different questions. I feel like at as a student, there you have a certain perspective of things, but as a professional that kind of changes, so I got to know a lot more about different concepts from a different perspective than what I had originally thought, so that was like a joy to listen to.
I think when it comes to emotions, it's such a gray area that it's very difficult to figure out how we should conduct ourselves. So I feel whatever you spoke about did really help, and it left
Like
enough space for us to add
Inside
our own
Out,
opinions to it.
the Inside Out movie,
Yeah.
both the movies, Joy is trying to deny something. Okay, the more you press it down, that's where it's happening. Oh, you are the savior of everyone. Oh, you couldn't even save yourselves despite being a psychologist. Why are we going behind everything negative? Again, if I acknowledge it, okay, I'm pressing down something, I'm negative, oh, I'm a psychologist, but why not? I'll fall down 100 times. I think that will give us the courage to say, even if I fall down 100 times, I want to get up one more time. Because no one gives us a purpose. Why I'm doing psychology? I think I'm lost. You'll get that question a lot, especially years down the line. Why am I doing this field? It's very taxing that way. So if I can give you 2 tips, one, read a lot. Don't read self-help books. You know, there are many authors of self-help books have committed suicide because आप बहुत कुछ लिखते हो, practice करना मुश्किल है. Read fiction. That will give an outlet to your stress. That will give an imagination and help you relate a lot with especially adolescents and kids. Read a lot. Second, since you're in your bachelor's, if you have the options, do double major, honors or something. Diversify and keep a subject which is different from your major. So that way you have an added portfolio, and anytime you feel like मुझे इसको break में रखे, like I did psychology business management. Okay, I set up a clinic, but I want to do something else. That degree will help. No one told me. I feel when it comes to me, I was very much interested in literature. Honors was something I didn't know at that time. Although many said study now, and I said I think now I've aged and padhai, I'm out of it. But why not? I can still go back to doing a master's. So I think keep one subject which will help your subject and diversify your career. Anytime you feel I want to do something different, that will help. Psychology works good with English, business management, economics, yes. History to an extent if you want to do UPSC and all. Biology, there are many who do with that. So thank you all of you, and hope you have a good journey ahead. All the best for those who are in your finals. When are the finals? In the 3rd year, right?
Yeah, so we just finished a semester now. For us, our last semester is going to start on the 10th next week, and Amrita has exams on Friday.
Okay, all the best, all the best. So I think mostly by the coming May, the year will end for you all, right?
Yes.
Okay. All the
Yes.
best. Good luck.
Yes, just as to conclude the interview, like obviously as students of psychology, the whole client therapist dynamic, because we don't have a lot of practical experience right now, it carries a certain aura of mystery around it. So, on behalf of all the students, I want to extend our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude towards you, ma'am, for providing such valuable insights and for giving us a glimpse into your journey as a therapist as well. And I'm confident that this conversation would help all of us students and provide us guidance as we are also aspiring therapists and counselors. So, thank you, ma'am, so much for speaking with us and sharing your experiences.
Pleasure is mine. I think this is the age group. That's why I am in junior college teaching. I learn a lot. I'm always open to learning. Like one of my students is majoring in museum conservation. I never knew there's a field like that. Like I knew conservation art, but there's a diploma in it I didn't know. I'm always open to new knowledge. So that's why when some like Shivani came to me with this interview, I said, yeah, anything new, I'm out for it. So
Right.
thank you all for this experience and good luck for your journey. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good day.